word? What's the word?
You know, there's not a lot of things that bring smiles to this ugly mug that I have here, but this is one of the few things that does. And yes, of course, I have to be talking about hanging out with Steve Swift and talking some boxing. And more importantly, the boxing that we're talking about this week is a preview of none other than Beterbiev versus Bivol. Not one, no, because if you missed it the first time, go back and watch it. A classic. Number 2. And we're putting this whole thing together. Steve, first of all, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm okay. My back is an awful lot better than it was. I was walking around like I'd defecated in my tighty whities earlier in the week. But now, after having my back cracked by my excellent osteopath, I find it's the glutes. You see, the thing is that I've got such a model physique.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a model of Mr. Blobby, but it's a model physique that I have very tight glutes. They're much prized in the community. And so consequently, I sometimes need to have them rolled out. But with this rolled out, it's so painful, like rolling an extremely gorgeous piece of dough.
Well, listen, it's already made it. Word has made it over here how much of a hit you are in the bathhouses. And, you know, I mean, listen, you do what you got to do, boo. It's all good.
Yeah, I mean, what one has to make some kind of living, or at least some loose change.
Listen,
and you know, I have a special CV for all of that.
And just leave a little extra for the rest of us out here in the world, would you please? Okay.
I'm only one man. Although when people see me, they say, "Oh, I think that might be 2 men."
Well, speaking of 2 men, Steve Swift, we got 2 men headlining Riyadh season this weekend coming up. That is unfreaking believable. And if you thought, here's the thing, Steve, this card baffles me. It's called The Last Crescendo. I get all of that. I doubt if it is The Last Crescendo, because if the first one was any indication, hell, give me number 4 and 5, start booking it already. I don't care. This card, answer me this. When have you ever, number one, seen a boxing card that has this many championship fights on it? Like the main card is 7 championship fights. I've never seen that. It's usually, I got to pay $85 to $100 US for one fight at the top. You know what I mean? To get that Mayweather fight, and the rest of them, you might have 1 or 2 gems in there, but for the most part, it's like, it's filler. This is 7 dimes for $25.99 US, bro. Shiki's killing the game.
Yeah, I mean, it's the thing is that you kind of, as you say before, leave something for the rest of us. So you sort, I mean, there is much as I'm delighted that this is happening, and you know, what a time to be alive in boxing and all of that. Apart from that pesky influence of boxing, apart from that, in a way, you kind of, we keep talking about Mr. In a way, don't we? But in a way, I sort of think that what's left after this, you really are saying, okay, I'm here, and I know that His Excellency wants to do this because, as you said, best fights, wants the best fights. But really, you could have split this in half, and we'd still have been delighted. What do you do next? That's the issue. Sorry to be a curmudgeon, but that's the issue. Putting that to one side, it's a hell of a card.
Oh my goodness. I want to run through this card. I want to get some predictions. We're going to kind of break this down, what we think, because for the first time in forever, this is also something that you don't see. And that's that the betting lines on this card are tight. We're tight like a tiger, right? Like, it's unbelievable how close some of these fights are, with the exception of the Shakur Stevenson Floyd Schofield fight, which I'm going to get into that for a second because I don't believe those numbers, to be honest with you. Now, starting this whole thing off, you've got Joshua Boutzy and Callum Smith for Boutzy's WBO light heavyweight interim title, the WBO title. How do you see this one going, my friend?
Well, as Spark said, you've got to beat the clock. You've got to beat the clock. And that's what Mr. S has to do. I mean, it's about turning time. If he could turn back time, then then that would be something very special. I don't suspect that will happen. I suspect that Boatsi will. I mean, I can't imagine that Mr. S will come out on the winning side of this, but he'll give it a damn good go, Tidster. He'll give it a damn good go, and he's going to cause Mr. Boatsi some problems here, because there are a lot of people who are saying, well, actually, inactivity is an issue for both, and there are a lot of people who are saying, well, do you believe the hype? To quote Public Enemy, do you believe the hype? Don't believe the hype, because it not really had a big step up. I mean, there are bigger steps up in this. I mean, Mr. Shiraz is a bigger step up. However, there are people who said, actually, he'll be a wily, experienced opponent, and it is something that Mr. Boatsi needs. I can't see him coming out on the losing side of this, but I'm willing to take arguments on that.
Well, I mean, here's the thing for this fight. I think that you've got a 34-year-old Callum Smith against a 31 for Boatsi. Both of these guys relatively the same size. Callum Smith actually has a little bit more of a reach advantage in this one, right? And here's the important thing that he has. He's got experience on his side with this one. And I not just experience, but experience inside of championship fights. That's a real key in this one as well. So that kind of gives Callum Smith a little bit more of an edge than the book is actually giving him on this one. Now, do I think that Callum Smith is going to, cause some big upset in this one? No, I don't. I think that, Boatsi goes to 20-0 after this one and continues well on his way.
It's also about boxing mileage, isn't it? It's about being close in ages, but not being as close in boxing mileage. So, I do think that this is set up for Joshua Boatsi, really, and it's a kind of beginning of a farewell procession for cancer. I guess. But you're right. He has the experience, and on a card like this, as a curtain jerker situation, you might have, and we don't know whether Joshua B is going to be up for this or whether he will freeze.
That's a thing, right? So, and this is a great fight to start off this main card with. Moving on from this one, though, is there a more giving man than Alexander Usyk right now? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Steve, but he was the undisputed, I have all the belts champion, right? He was kind enough. He was kind enough to, give up the belt that Dubois and Anthony Joshua fought for, that Dubois now has. And it looks like you've got Kabayel and Zhang in this next fight. I mean, Zhilei Zhang and Ajit Kabayel for the vacant WBC interim heavyweight title. So they've got to get somebody to fight. What, you think one of these guys is going to fight Alexander Usyk for that WBC title?
Yeah, and he said, and you're right, he's saying to everybody. In fact, he phoned me earlier today and said, "You want to fight? Sure." So he's doing that. Apparently, he's just going to the internet, putting in people's names. John Smith ringing him and saying, "I'm Alexander Usyk. You want to fight? Yeah, no problem. He'll fight anybody." And this is set. I mean, it's set up for Zhang to. The feeling is that Zhang was somebody we didn't know generally about, and very quickly did know about, and really kind of beat ourselves up metaphorically about not knowing him. And suddenly, he's made a mistake, and actually he's not the fighter we were, and we were really pissed off that we thought he was. So this is the fight for him to step back into. However, I mean, it should be not easy pickings, but it should be his fight, I suspect. However, you're probably going to pour cold water on that, and I expect that you should. It all depends what's left of Zhang after the Parker fight. It all depends what's left of him. Yeah, we'll see, won't we?
Well, he's been through some big battles, and this has always been a problem, I think, in the heavyweight division, is that you can't take as many shots from these guys that you're fighting in there. You know what I mean? And we saw, I think the first showing of his real power was the Deontay Wilder fight, for sure. Right? So can that continue against Ajit Kabayel? Listen, I think that Kabayel is kind of a bit of a dark horse in this heavyweight division. And I've said this for a while. I mean, 25-0 already, right? 17 stoppages out of that 25. As a heavyweight, that's good. That's good. And he's not that old of a guy still either. So he's only 32 years old. I think I would take Kabayel for the upset in this one, believe it or not.
And I can understand why you'd think that. And for Zhang, it's about, are you serious, mate? Right. Are you now serious? Well, if you're serious, then you need to get this fight done. And you need to win. It's not going to be as easy as it should. If we're talking about the boxing of boxing, the business of boxing, should I say, it should be, Zhang dispatches this gentleman and moves on and, reasserts himself. But it's not going to be that easy. Also, the place they're fighting as well, the positioning on the card won't be that easy either.
Right. Now, speaking of positioning on the card, this next one, oh man, I am so excited about this. Virgil Ortiz Jr. and Israel Madrimov for Ortiz's WBC World Interim Super Welterweight title. Listen, you're talking about a guy who is 10-1-1 in Israel Madrimov against Ortiz, 22-0. That doesn't sound like it's as close as it is, but I'm telling you straight up, Madrimov, after watching the way that he kind of like made Terrence Crawford look just a little bit normal, because we were all expecting TC to just go through Madrimov in this one, right? And I said, no, these European bloc fighters that are coming out right now are on a different level, Steve. I wouldn't be a bit surprised. if Madrimov takes this one.
I agree. I think this is going to be a really close one as well. It'll either be, no, I don't think it'll be a chess match. This is going to be something fairly all out. And I think that you could be right. I think, let's face it, Virgil Ortiz will fight anybody. And, it's really, that's great. And it's hats off to him, for taking this. Because as you say, it's not as easy as you think. It will be a really good fight. This is the sleeper fight, isn't it? Really, I guess. Yeah, this is the sleeper fight. This is the one where you say, did you see that? I think it's going to be a firefight, but still close, actually. So they match beautifully, and it's tasty. That's the great thing about this card. It's tasty. You don't think, as you intimated earlier, you don't think, oh, that's just been put in as a sorbet. These are all tasty fights. This one is meaty as well.
100%. Like, as soon as this fight was announced, I was like, I'm in. I'm usually in with a Virgil Ortiz Jr. fight anyways. But as soon as they said they had him matched up with Israel Madrimov, I was like, let me see that again and again and again. Now, this next one, Steve, one's probably the most unknown, if you think about it, in the card. And it's Carlos Adams against Hamza Shiraz. Sorry, my mistake. For Adams' WBC middleweight title, because these are not household names on the card, right? So what this tells me, because Shiki no dum dum, right? Shiki no dum dum. He knows what he's doing, and he's putting together fights that he really wants to see for a reason. And this is one of those fights. You may not know who these guys are as far as a household name is now, because there's so many other middleweights out there, and it's kind of a bit of a cluttered division, so to speak, right? This is going to be a fight that I'm looking forward to, and everybody's like, why? Just wait and see.
Yeah, I mean, if you Hamza Shiraz is a I mean, he's such an up and comer and such a talent that it's time to walk that line. This is it.
Right.
So, this is the coming out. This is the coming out fight for him. So, this is the one. So it's about time you stepped up.
His last fight, what was it? Second round or something like that? Just smashes dude. Comes out second round, boom, done and done. 21-0 is a really good record for a guy getting this shot right now. And I wouldn't be a bit surprised, because he's a tall dude with a nice long reach on him, right? And his stuff is very clean. So this is going to be a fight that somebody's getting knocked out in this fight. And I hate to say it, I think that there's going to be, again in this one, and new.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't hate to say that, really. I think that, for Shiraz has been well looked after. His stuff, you're right, his technique's superb, clean and clear, but with an attitude as well. He's fun to watch. And it is I love that moment where you say, okay, but can he? Well, we're going to find out with this fight. This is the one. This is the announcement. There's a silver salver with his details on it waiting for you, whether that's going back in the closet or whether that's going to be there for everybody to see. I think he does this. And I think he does this not with a great deal of difficulty, to be honest. I don't think that we've seen the best of him yet. I think that he's the kind of fighter who will really enjoy that crowd, who will really enjoy the lights on his skin, will really enjoy that feeling, soak it up and play with it. And I think this is going to be the surprise of the night, because he will do it. And I think it'll be, well, I never expected that. So yeah, he'll dispatch him fairly, not easily, but he'll dispatch him well.
Now, this next one is one that I wanted to talk about. And this was the only fight that the betting line is so crazy on this one, like Shakur Stevenson and Floyd Schofield. Shakur Stevenson is coming into like a minus 1,100 to Schofield plus 650. That is an insane line, but that is a normal boxing line. What you see in the betting, that's what you see. The problem I see with this, and this isn't any kind of knock whatsoever, but let's think about the last couple of times we've watched Shakur Stevenson fight. Have you been that impressed? I haven't. Right?
No. I mean, he needs to give us something, because, we get a lot of verbiage from the gentleman, which is, I want this, I want that, I'm not getting this, I'm not getting that. Well, actually, what we need to see that you're worthy of that. So this is a big opportunity here, and he should, if things are expected, dispatch his opponent pretty easily. However, that is not what his opponent thinks, and he's talking an extremely good and very confident game at this, almost as if he knows something that other people don't know.
Listen, we're talking about, both of these guys match up so well in their records. 22-0 against 18-0, southpaw against orthodox, reach is relatively the same on it. But here's the thing, is Floyd may be seeing the same kind of things that we see in it. And the fact that Shakur Stevenson maybe isn't that guy. This is the fight that you're going to have to prove that you're that guy, because the level after this, there's no turning back. You're fighting the top of the top.
Yeah. And the most unfortunate thing for Stevenson would be if he performed okay and we weren't aware that he was ever going to lose it, but he didn't dispatch, or he didn't really give us anything to as has happened recently. You get another one of those, it's over. Really, it's over for top liners. So there's an awful lot more at stake for Shakur Stevenson, and sometimes that makes you make mistakes. If there's a lot at stake, you can make mistakes, and sometimes you can be fooled into making those mistakes. It's going to be, it's quite a chess one. It's quite a chess one. As you say, they're evenly matched, and I think that Stevenson might want it too much and need it too much. It's going to be very interesting. It's another mouthwaterer.
Yeah, I think that Stevenson will get this one, but I think it's going to be by split decision after taking way too much heat. Simple. Now, heavyweights. Joseph Parker, Daniel Dubois for the Dubois IBF. Thank you again, Mr. Alexander Usyk, for this gift. Okay, sure, I had to knock the shit out of Anthony Joshua, but nonetheless, I got this belt, Daniel Dubois. Do you think that Joseph Parker actually has enough left in his tank for this fight?
No, I don't actually. I think this is going to be an easier night for Dubois than something. Do you know, I don't know, because what Parker sometimes does is he sometimes battens it down and gets through. And I don't know whether Dubois is the kind of fighter who can get to the deep water. I really don't know. I was doing deep water there. You see that? Deep water. That was shallow, deep. I don't quite know if he's the kind of boxer who thinks, I'm not getting him out of here. I don't know. I'm not getting him out of here. I think that Dubois, he always seems to me, even considering the AJ fiasco or brilliance, he always seems to me to be a fighter who's not experienced enough, stuff.
Right.
And Parker is entirely the opposite. So if Parker is thinking, if he's looking at thinking the same as me, which he might do, because we do think very similar. I mean, earlier on, I thought, I fancy a cheeseburger. And then Joseph, he messaged me and said, I fancy a cheeseburger, Steve. We think the same way. He wants an extra pickle, not for me. However, I think if he's thinking the same way, well, I might be able to frustrate him here and take him. However, Dubois just got to hit him with a couple of shots. I mean, he is dynamite, Dubois, and he can do. And he has done that before. It all depends if Parker can get through those early rounds. If he can get through the first four, he's got a chance. But I bet he probably won't.
Here's the thing that I think, because Joseph Parker, I think that it's a real sign of the reason that he's taken as much time off as he had. Because his last fight was damn near a year ago against Zhilei Zhang. And we saw that fight and how that was a war. Prior to that, though, his last 5 fights prior to that was on average of every 3 months and some odd days or something like that, less than 4 months apart from one another. And you know as well as I do how consistency helps, but at the heavyweight division, taking those shots doesn't. So the question is whether or not the time away is going to be bad for Parker or it's going to be good and we're going to see a revitalized Parker who's going to come out there swinging. I don't think using Anthony Joshua for this is any kind of measure because I think Anthony Joshua is shot. I think that ship has sailed. Kudos to Dubois for getting this, but I think that the old man is still going to have some tricks. However, I think that Dubois is just going to be too young and powerful to put up with it for too long. I think that Dubois gets put on his ass at least once in this fight, but I think that he still wins this fight. So now we move on to the main event before we go, and once again, before we go, I got to say thank you so much to everybody. If you have not yet, please go on, subscribe, like all of the stuff. We've got, MMA, pro wrestling, boxing. It's all fantastic. Please and thank you for all of that stuff. Now, we're talking Beterbiev versus Bivol 2, which in itself is hard enough to say. That's a tongue twister, right? And the reason this is number 2 and the reason this is so fast is because the first one was so damn good. Here's the thing, Stephen. I want to get yours before I say mine. How do you think this fight differs in any way from the first fight?
I've been thinking about this today. My concern is that it doesn't. It all depends what Dmitry Bivol has learnt here, doesn't it? And it all depends. I'm not sure. I mean, I really love Bivol's work so much, but Beterbiev is a monster, and he's a talented monster. I just think that Bivol hasn't got what he needs for this. But again, he'll have a really good go, and it will be a really good fight. But I suspect it's not. What is there to? If you say, well, we could go this way, no, because he's better in that way. Okay, we could go this way, no, because I think he's better that way as well. What can we do? Well, I'll turn up. And we'll see what happens. I mean, Bivol needs to get silkier and silkier. He needs to be like an ocelot's pocket, really silky. But I don't think it. I'm not putting a downer on it because it's going to be a great fight. But I don't think there's that much difference in this fight. I mean, unless you've seen something different, because you got that boxing brain, son.
Here's the thing, and it's not even a matter of the boxing that I'm going to talk about right now. Because you know as well as I do how stuff like this goes. And that first fight, I went back and watched that fight, and yes, I did also give it to Beterbiev, but I can see how this could have been judged the other way. Bivol was in that fight all the way through, and some of the scores did not indicate the way that fight actually was. But let's talk the business of boxing right now. And you know as well as I do, 24 rounds. This is what we're going to be at after the end of this, because, yes, I do believe that this is going to go the distance again. After 24 rounds of these two going back and forth with one another, what would be better than that? Another 12 rounds. Now, do you get that other 12 rounds, Steve Swift, if Beterbiev wins this fight? But you do get this if it's a split decision in some way, shape, or form, and the judges give this thing to Bivol, and we go to number 3. What's better for business?
You see, this is why I love you so much. You know, this is interesting. It really is, and it perks up my Thursday evening so well. Tuesday evening, not even Thursday. It's Tuesday, isn't it? I'm living at a fast pace.
It is. This is going to delay all the way until Thursday.
Fair enough. Thursday. So, yes, it's very interesting. If he stays in it till the end, and I think you're right, and he's in it enough, then you might have, and we've talked about animal spirits and judges, haven't we? You might say, well, actually, the fans are loving this. We need another one. Yeah, you could see that. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. That's a really interesting way of looking at that. I mean, it's in some ways it's a horrible way of looking at that, but that's the business of boxing, isn't it? It's human, and I'd love to see a third. That's really interesting. That could actually happen. I can't really see it, but Bivol's just going to stay in there then. Stay in there. Just a couple more rounds, son. Just a couple more rounds. That's interesting.
I love it. And this is the thing that I love about boxing so much, and I love this card so much. If you haven't yet, please, by all means, go to DAZN. Get yourself a subscription, right? And watch all of the other boxing that they've gone on there, because they have some fantastic cards. But you are never going to get a boxing card with this much star value on it for this kind of a price. It's unreal. And I mean, listen, go out there. Enough of me talking about it, enough of him talking about it. Do yourself a favor and go get this card. Steve, it's always a pleasure. I can't wait to talk to you after this, right? on our usual time so that we can see how close or how blatantly effing wrong we actually were about all of this. And we know nothing. We know nothing because we're just a couple of guys. But one thing that I do know is, ladies and gentlemen, at the end of all of this, you got to go check out Steve over at World Weary Guy 1 on all of his stuff. And more importantly, boys, hope you're